Hey strangers, welcome to the 4th episode of the Strange Sessions with Kurt and Krista. I'm Kurt.
I'm Krista.
And think of us as your Uber drivers taking you down the boulevards of the bazaar. How about
Boulevard
that?
of the Bazaar. I feel like that's our next podcast name. Boulevard of the Bazaar.
So they got the alliteration thing going there with the double B's.
That's amazing.
Tonight's episode is going to be about the weird death of Elisa Lam.
I'm so excited to talk about
Yeah, this one is kind of crazy.
I feel like every time I see a podcast with this as the topic, I have to listen to it because it's such a strange and fascinating case.
I agree. And like I told you just a little while ago, I came here thinking it was just a messed up accident on her part. But then there's a lot of stuff that I hear that...
theories that are out there.
A lot of theories that are out there. And I don't know which one I think is correct now.
I have like a, Occam's razor, of course. I have one of those that it's the most likely explanation, but then I have what my sort of imagination wants me to think might be going on. So we can talk about theories maybe after we go through all the details of what happened in this really tragic case.
Yeah, it's kind of awful.
It is.
Do we have any housekeeping to take care of first? We had a lot of feedback. I got a lot of feedback personally from friends on our reality, our last podcast. Yeah, which kind of surprised me because I thought a lot of people would be like, about that one. But a lot of people actually really liked it.
I think it's something that everybody can kind of relate to in a way because everybody can kind of, I don't know, have their own theory about what reality is. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are like, it's just like reality and stuff. But I'm sure there are plenty of people out there like us who kind of like to toss out those other ideas. And
I just kind of thought it would be a little too deep for most people and that they wouldn't really care about it. And
are you saying your friends are shallow?
No, I'm not saying they're shallow. I'm just saying that
I'm
just saying that it's one of those things that you kind of like.
Yeah, it might be a little too out there.
Yeah, not saying anybody is dumb or shallow,
right? But
it's just one of those things that you kind of don't want to think about.
I think this topic today, well, actually a little housekeeping, but sort of not really. Does that make sense? I wanted to give a shout out to Sherry at work. She's a person that I work with. She's a big fan of Paranormal Palaver. And when I told her we were going on a break, Paranormal Palaver, for those of you who don't know, is sort of what we call the parent podcast of
flagship.
The flagship. Thank you. Flagship podcast of our old school media productions here. And we're sort of on a little summer break for that right now. And she's like, I don't have anything to listen to. And I said, well, yes, you do. There's a new podcast called The Strange Sessions. So she's getting caught up on The Strange Sessions. She really liked the Blue Whale episode. But she's going to be starting as my counterpart at work on Monday. So I'm really excited to welcome her to my team and also to this new podcast. So thank you for listening, Sherry.
Yes, thank you, Sherry. Thank you for listening.
Yes. Okay. Do you have any housekeeping?
I don't think so.
I haven't heard anything about the Blue Whale stuff lately.
No, I haven't either. I looked it up and it was just the same old stuff. There's another weird game that can be involved with today's.
Yeah, what is
it's
up
really
with that
interesting.
Stuff? I want to talk about that.
Why can't they just play with video games when
right?
they got to do these weird
Monopoly?
These
Come
weird
on,
satanic ritual things.
It's all about scaring yourself.
Yeah.
It's like Bloody Mary. I think this elevator game that we're going to talk about later, it's the same concept of standing in front of a mirror and saying Bloody Mary 3 times.
Yeah, what's the one with the pencil? Where the pencil?
I keep hearing about
that,
and I know nothing about it.
Something?
I don't know anything about it.
I remember hearing about it like a year ago, but I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, I don't know the details. I'm not hip enough to know what the pencil game is. I just keep hearing people kind of mentioning it. So
you're not down with those satanic ritual games?
No, maybe we'll do a little research on that, and that'll be housekeeping.
Maybe Krista will do a podcast where she plays all these games live, and then
right before I play with the Ouija board.
Right before she does her Ouija board episode.
Yeah, definitely.
But anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm ready to
dive
sink my teeth in and dive headfirst into this.
Dive head first
story.
Is not
a
real good.
It's very apropos.
Yeah, not a real good term for this. All right, the Elisa Lam case starts on January 26, 2013, so it's not that long ago.
Nope.
On that date, 21-year-old Elisa Lam checked into the Hotel Cecil in downtown Los Angeles. She was a Canadian student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, and she was just sightseeing. She was taking what she called the West Coast tour, where she was checking out San Francisco, Los Angeles.
Was this part of like a group?
No, it was basically just her.
She was doing it on her own.
She was doing it on her own.
Okay.
She checked into the hotel. She was originally in a shared room, like a hostel kind of situation. Mm-hmm. But she was moved to a private room after her roommates complained about her odd behavior.
I wish we could find out the details of that.
Yeah, we have no idea what the odd behavior...
I feel like that could be really revealing.
Yeah, it could be. Based on what...
It could speak to what her mental state was.
Yes. And speaking of her mental state, she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression, and she was prescribed medication for them. I believe 4 different kinds of medication. Yeah. She suffered from depression, and she had her bouts of depression, but people said she seemed to be a pretty happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people have gone to her, is it Flickr?
No, a Tumblr. I think it was a Tumblr.
Is Flickr a thing? I don't even know. I think I just made up a new social media website.
They went to her GeoCities site.
Her what's the other one? MySpace page?
Yeah, her MySpace.
That she had been posting, on her page, fashion stuff, photos, quotes, and seemed to be in a good place mentally. So
one thing that's weird about that is that months after she died,
were there still posts?
There were posts that would show up on hers, and people theorized that you could do a thing where it would randomly repost something
on her
site that she posted in the past on a certain day.
Oh, interesting.
But people said that it also didn't kind of make sense. So that was always kind of a weird thing, was that posts would still show up on her Tumblr after her death.
Okay. So she was asked to move to a different room, and I think it was up on the 3rd floor.
I believe so.
And okay, and she was originally like on the 1st or 2nd floor or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
And
how many floors are in the hotel? Do you know?
No.
Oh, darn.
No, I could look it up real quick. No, I can't. No internet here.
No
internet at
the PPP Ranch.
The Triple P studio does not have the internet yet.
I'm gonna try to do that on my phone with really shoddy reception.
Right. So she had been moved to a separate room by herself, and on January 31st, the day she was scheduled to check out of the hotel, her parents didn't hear from her. She had been in contact with her parents constantly every day of the trip, and on that day, her parents didn't hear from her, and they became worried.
So was she reported missing at that time?
Yeah, they reported her missing almost instantly.
Yeah. And should we mention that she was of Asian descent?
Yeah, she was, I believe, was it Vietnamese?
I'm not sure.
I think it was Vietnamese. She was of Asian descent, but she was from Canada.
Okay.
Which makes her awesome, because I love Canadian people. I just do. Canadian people are the best people.
Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just so damn nice.
So that day, she did not contact her parents, so her parents were worried and called the hotel. The hotel staff and shopkeepers said that they saw her that day and that she seemed lively, she seemed outgoing, she seemed friendly and happy, that there didn't seem like there was anything wrong with her. The police were notified immediately, and it was kind of a big thing because she was from a different country, and, somebody from a different country comes and disappears. That's not good.
No.
So
that's not
at
good
all.
Press.
No. So the police were notified. They came. Her room was searched, and search dogs were brought to the hotel to look for her scent everywhere in the hotel, including the roof. And no traces of anything were found. Okay. They could not get a scent. They could not get anything.
So her room was completely empty?
No, her room was searched.
Oh, okay. They couldn't find any.
They didn't
DNA,
find any. They didn't find any. The dogs didn't find any scent of her anywhere.
Okay, that's interesting.
How
could they not find any scent of her?
I don't know. They supposedly asked people. The police supposedly talked to people in the hotel and asked them, but a lot of people that stayed at the hotel said the police never contacted them, which was weird.
I read that as well.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, that is really weird, actually. This is early on in the investigation. It's a missing person.
But the police said they can't just go in and check. There's 700 rooms in a hotel. They can't just go in and.
There's 600. Oh, sorry, I actually found it. It's 14 floors, which is more than I thought. 600 guest rooms, opened in 1927.
It's a pretty big hotel.
Yeah, it is pretty big. There's a picture. This is great podcast material.
Yes, it is.
We'll post the video that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we plan on posting that. By now it had been posted, so you should have. The video was pretty popular at the time. I remember a lot of people, so you've probably already seen the video, but if not, it's on the Strange Sessions Facebook page.
Okay, awesome.
So the police came in, search dogs, couldn't find anything, nothing. And on February 14th, the LAPD released her last known footage, which is the elevator surveillance video, which is very well known.
So they released the video footage from the surveillance video
Yes.
from the elevator before
She was found.
Her. I
Yes.
did not know that.
Yep.
Okay.
Don't know what to say about the elevator video.
Yeah, well,
we'll get into that,
we'll
but
get
it's
to that.
very.
We'll come back to that. Yeah.
It's been
She was Cantonese. Lam Ho Yi was her Cantonese name.
She's a really pretty girl.
Yeah, she was really pretty.
So the video was released. People watched the video and instantly were like, wow, what's going on?
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It is really
so
bizarre.
the search continued. No trace of Elisa anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, guests at the hotel, and this is kind of gross, so
this is horrifying.
you might want to brace yourself, get a drink.
Not
tap
not
water.
water.
Not tap water. Get a drink. And at this point, guests at the hotel started complaining to the management that the water pressure in their room was low.
Mm-hmm.
And other people started to complain that the water coming out of their faucets was black and smelled and tasted funny.
Mm-hmm.
Not good.
No.
So on the morning of February 19th, one of the maintenance employees at the hotel went to the roof to check in 4 1,000-gallon water tanks. And in one of the tanks, he discovered Elisa's body floating face up a foot below the surface. He immediately called the police. They came. Firefighters were called, and the tank was cut open to remove the body because there was no way. There was a hatch on the top, and they couldn't.
Yeah, they had to cut a hole.
They had to cut a hole
Yes.
in the tank to remove her body. On February 21st, the coroners determined the cause of death to be an accidental drowning with mental disorders as a significant factor.
Was there water found in her lungs? You said you read the autopsy report.
There was water found in her lungs.
Okay.
And this is where it gets into the, like the theory stuff where some people say something, some people say something else, but some people say that it could have been in her lungs because of the time she was submerged in the water, that it wasn't necessarily drowning.
Because she drowned, yeah.
But
I also read that there was no visible signs of trauma on her body.
No visible
whatsoever.
signs of trauma. The full report stated that her body had been nude in the tank, which had been half to 3/4 full, and that her clothes she had been wearing in the elevator video were found floating alongside her in the tank, but the clothes were covered in
They were like white flecks of something, almost like paint chips or something.
Yeah, like a paint chip kind of material.
And was there anything inside the tank that would have?
No. No.
That's strange.
Yeah, that is very strange. And that is where her situation ends.
Okay.
And
how horrifying is that you've been complaining about the water tasting funny and then you find out that a corpse has been floating in it for
several
3
people
weeks.
sued the hotel.
How do you do that though?
I don't know.
How would they know?
I don't know.
Oh, your water tastes funny? It must be a body floating.
there wasn't any, the water was chlorinated, so there weren't any harmful,
sure,
but still,
whatever, yeah.
But still.
It's horrifying.
It is horrifying. Like the one guy on the blurry photos, the blurry photos podcast, when they talked about it, the guy said, if you do that, you can do one of two things. You can either throw up,
yes.
immediately get sick, or you can
just
say
accept
it happened.
That it
you can say it
happened.
happened. There's nothing I can do about it now.
Yep, it's in the
which
past.
I think I would be okay with. It takes a lot to.
Yeah, I remember a story you told me once about something you drank.
Yeah. Let's save that for another podcast. Yeah. But yeah, it takes a lot, but I can't imagine.
Yeah, I don't think I'd throw up because you'd find out so far probably after the fact that it would just be horrifying though.
But then if the water was coming out black and smelled funny, why were people drinking it?
Right.
They said it tasted strangely sweet.
Water.
Which I don't know.
Apparently a decomposing body tastes sweet.
Yep. So at this point, people kind of didn't know what happened. And there's still a lot of unanswered questions.
There's lots of theories.
There's
no way to know exactly how she got up there because the only surveillance video we have of her is from the elevator. Yeah. And her behavior in the elevator is so
you can
bizarre.
Describe the elevator video.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
as you can see, chances are if you're listening to this, you saw the Facebook page, and then we have the video on there.
Yeah, go to YouTube. This video is posted probably
everywhere,
in thousands
with theories
of places.
Everywhere about what.
There are probably shorter versions. There's the full version.
There's versions where stuff is circled and analyzed. And
right. So the video opens with the doors to the elevator opening, and she comes in and kind of puts her right arm up in like this arc, like, I'm going to press some buttons on this elevator here. And so she leans down really strangely, like gets right in and looks really closely at the buttons. And then she hits a whole bunch of buttons, but in like a weird, and throughout the whole video, I feel like everything she does is exaggerated. If she's going to take a step, it's going to be more like a hop. If she's going to lean over, she's really going to bend forward really far.
Before she was found, when people saw the video, everybody said, oh, she's high. She's on ecstasy. Something. She's on something. But no drugs were found in her system.
But the funny thing is she doesn't seem like tipsy. You know what I mean? Like if she were drunk, that would be super obvious. Yeah. She was not drunk.
No, but she seems very...
Like I said, everything she's doing is exaggerated. All of her motions are really exaggerated, and I feel like that is something you do when you're under the influence of some kind of controlled substance. But her toxicology report came back. And
I don't know enough about that to know if
a drug
if traces of it can leave your system.
Especially if your body's been decomposing for 3 weeks in a thing of water. I don't know. So...
Some people say that they think that she's threatened by somebody because she is looking outside. She jumps outside the elevator like she's looking to see if somebody is there.
Well, at first it kind of, to me, okay, she hits the buttons and she steps back into like the corner.
But she doesn't seem like she's frightened. She's not scared. She seems playful.
She stands back, puts her arms kind of in front of her and clasps her hands and then stands there and waits for the doors to close because that's what happens when you press a button. The doors close, but they don't close.
No.
And then she kind of goes up to the doors and in a really like quick jerk peeks out and looks both ways and then jumps back into the elevator. And then she steps and kind of backs against the wall next to the buttons like she's hiding. But it seems like
she doesn't seem afraid. She doesn't seem like she's fearful.
It's like she's playing hide and go seek with a little kid or something. That's kind of the impression I get just watching it. If I had watched that video not knowing what was going on, I'm like, oh, she must be playing a game with somebody. That's what it looks like. She doesn't look scared to me.
No.
So then... Does she hit more buttons at that point?
I think this is that when she
to watch the video.
Isn't that when she exits the?
I think it might be.
She does the weird sidestep thing.
Yeah, she kind of does like a box step almost and tucks herself back into the corner. And then she does again. She kind of creeps towards the door, almost like she's trying to startle whoever is out in the hall that she must think is playing with her.
Yeah,
you know?
Some people have theorized that she thought. It's the weird thing is that the doors do not close. They never close. So some people think that she's trying to catch somebody out there who's holding the button to keep the doors open.
That's why she keeps popping out to see if she can catch them standing there. Right? That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
So then she eventually goes out into the hall. She walks straight out the elevator and steps to the left of the doors. So you just sort of see like the right couple inches of her body from head to foot. And she stands there for a minute. I mean, she's there for actually probably, 60 seconds, maybe a minute and a half, which seems like a really long time when you're just standing there watching this video. But she's not really doing anything at all.
At one point, it looks like she's kind of out of the range of the camera.
Yeah.
And she reaches up, and it almost looks like she's playing with her hair or doing something with her hair.
Yep. And then
it's at the weird arm stuff.
Well, first she kind of steps forward and turns and walks to the left, and people think that they see someone else's foot, but Kurt and I feel pretty confident that it's her own foot that you see.
Yeah.
She kind of pivots, steps forward, crosses her right leg over her left, and it's her left heel that you see in the video as she's kind of pivoting to the left. Disappears out of view for a while. She comes back. Does she come back in the elevator and then go back out?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I feel like she gets back in the elevator, looks at the buttons again, and then goes and stands in the hall, and she starts doing these weird things with her hands.
That's the one thing that people remember from the video.
She looks like she's at a rave.
And
she's doing like weird rave dancing. Like she might be holding, glow sticks and seeing trails. Yeah. Maybe she is seeing trails.
There's basically 4 theories. There's that she was
on drugs.
Or that she did this herself accidentally.
Yeah.
That she drowned accidentally. There's the theory that she was murdered by somebody. Mm-hmm. There's a theory that she killed herself. And there is the theory that that there's something paranormal involved. And that's what a lot of the possession stuff comes from, this weird arm thing she's doing.
Because it's almost like her hands are contorting in a way that's not natural. I don't know if it's the video that makes it look that way.
I think it's the video is partially because the video is really pixelated and it's very grainy.
Yep.
I don't feel like she's doing anything that you couldn't do.
No, but it's just not natural.
No, when I see that, the first time I see that, I think I feel like she's dancing.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. Because she does these weird, like, you have to watch it. It's just, they're kind of flowing and moving like she is. Like, I think of somebody, how they dance when they're at a rave. You do weird stuff with your hands.
Yeah.
And then
she starts, like, counting, or like she's doing something where it looks like she's counting like, something off on her fingers.
Yep. And then...
And it looks like she's talking to somebody that's there.
Yeah, because it looks like she's gesturing, like she's talking, and like I'm right now. I'm moving my hands while I'm talking. It's kind of like that. So it goes from this weird, like, flowing and, like, you know, weird dancing stuff to kind of like gesturing, like she's doing this sort of thing and, like, counting off on her fingers. And so that makes you think, is somebody in the hall? But we'll never know the answer to that question.
No, if
there could have been somebody in the hall.
There could have been, and that comes into play in the murder theory.
Yeah. Right.
But and then she walks off, doesn't she?
Yeah, she walks off to the left. You don't see her cross the doors again. And then the video just kind of goes on. The doors are still open this whole entire time. But then when they do finally close, Kurt and I feel pretty confident that the video looks like it's been edited.
Yeah, we'll get to that with some of the theories.
Yeah. So what do you want to start with a theory?
I think the most popular theory is that she had some kind of manic episode.
Or just a break, a mental break.
But the drugs that were in her system were of the right dosage, that it appeared that she had been taking them correctly like she was supposed to. You know, some people thought maybe she was not taking them.
Right, but the concentration
and everything said that she was taking them.
Okay.
One thing that happened was that she wrote on her Tumblr that her phone was missing like the day or two before this happened.
There was all these hashtags about...
Yeah, all the hashtags about
not
phone.
my phone.
That some people theorize that maybe that upset her so much that she...
Does she seem manic to you in the video, though?
I don't think she does.
When I think of manic, I think of somebody who is at their lowest low, right?
No, manic is...
up and
depressed,
crazy.
Depressed is lowest low.
Oh.
But she just seems... I don't know. She doesn't seem either to me. She just seems...
Manic is sort of impulsive, kind of, you know, all over the place.
Yeah, and it's been said that some of her medication, if things get out of whack, can cause hallucinations. So people said maybe she hallucinated.
That.
She was hiding from somebody, or that there was somebody out there she was talking to.
So I suppose something that would feed the theory that it's paranormal is, why the heck does the doors never close?
I don't know.
The elevator never goes anywhere. If you get in an elevator and you press all the buttons, it's going to start going through every floor. You're going to stop at every floor. It's not just going to sit there with the door. Or is there a door open button that she hit that nobody noticed?
It's possible, but then the door does close.
Yeah, that's only like a timed thing.
Yeah.
I know there's like an emergency thing, but I don't know if that's for
some people think that the weird, things that she is doing with her arms, she's trying to see if there's a sensor, that she's actually annoyed that the doors aren't closing. And that's what her whole thing is about, is that she's trying to figure out why the doors aren't closing.
It's just not natural the way she's moving.
No, not at all.
And the thing is, though, where would the sensor be? It would be between the doors. It wouldn't be out in front of the elevator.
Yeah.
And there is a point where she comes back, and I mentioned this, we watched it right before we started recording, where she first steps out into the hallway one of the first times. And when she comes back in, she kind of like puts both of her hands up on the sides, like she's almost steadying herself as she steps back in, almost like she looked like she was kind of like overwhelmed for a second or disoriented a little bit. So there are moments where you're like, wait, is she kind of messed up, or is she on something, or disoriented somehow?
And, if she is disoriented, the theory that she had some kind of break and accidentally did this,
How do you accidentally go all the way up to the roof and accidentally climb into a water
Well,
tank?
if she thought she was playing hide and seek with somebody, she somehow found her way up there. An important thing is that there is a door to the roof.
Yeah.
But it has an alarm. But there are also
and
fire...
it's locked. It's supposed to be locked.
But there are fire escapes that lead...
But wouldn't you have to go through someone's room?
I don't know.
Would her room have a fire escape on it?
I don't believe anything said that her room had a fire escape on it.
Maybe I can find a picture of... Right. Although I have read from people, I don't know if they were people who stayed at the hotel and tested this out or people who worked there, but they said that door wasn't always locked and it wasn't always alarmed.
No, and somebody could have been out there and propped it open because they knew they were going to be going back out there. The most popular one is that she just had a mental break and she freaked out and ended up getting into the tank.
It just seems like a weird combination of like the perfect storm kind of thing, though. I mean, a lot of weird things had to happen for her to get up there.
It does.
I don't know.
And the second most
popular... It really
popular...
is the most logical explanation.
It is. But the second most popular theory is that she was murdered.
Yeah.
And that people think that it was possibly somebody that lives... Because you can live in that hotel.
Yeah.
You can, like an apartment complex, you can pay rent. That it was either somebody that lives there and knows the area or it was a worker there.
Sure. And, okay, so this hotel is near Skid Row.
Yeah, the
which
hotel
is not
near
a good
Skid
area.
Row. No, Skid Row is...
There have been... I've read that the place is kind of famous for having a little bit of a shady history.
We're not talking about Skid Row, the Youth Gone Wild 80s heavy metal band.
Yeah, right. So there are a bunch of fire escapes. I mean, but they look like they're attached to rooms. So I guess it would depend on if her room had a fire escape.
And people say that if somebody did murder her, that he could have been standing outside in the hallway.
Right.
And if it would have been somebody that had lived there a long time or an employee, they would know that there was a camera there. They would know where to stay out of view of the camera.
So maybe they lured her up. So she's staying on the 3rd floor, I think, right? I thought that's what I read.
Well, two things that... I know one of these I talked with you before we started recording. Two things that I think are suspicious are the fact that in the video she's wearing...
What appear to be men's clothes?
Men's shorts.
Yeah.
That she's wearing men's shorts that don't really seem to fit her. I don't remember where it was.
She's
if it was a podcast
petite.
I listened to, but it said it was almost like she was...
I think Thinking Sideways
sleeping with
that.
somebody and just happened to grab their
clothes and put them on.
Put his shorts on.
Even her sweatshirt that she has on, though, everything
that
looks really big on her.
Woman's sweatshirt, though.
That was
the one that was a male's was the shorts.
I'm on the Wikipedia page. I'm trying to find what floor she was staying on.
Which just seemed really out of place were her shorts. That people said she could have been having sex with somebody there and took their shorts, as just a joke or whatever. And the other thing that absolutely makes no sense to me is the tank she was in was half full to 3/4 full. The lid to get into the tank is 40 pounds, which is very feasible to open for a girl. But
is
the
there
fact
a ladder on the water tank?
No, but there's right behind the water tank. There's a building. I don't know if that's where the stairs come out to the roof.
Oh, so you could just
There's
step
a building,
out.
and on the side of the building is a ladder going to the top of the building. And from the top of the building, you can step down onto the water tanks.
Okay.
But what I don't understand is how she managed to close the lid from inside the tank when the tank was half full to 3/4 full.
How would she reach it unless she brought it down as she was falling in?
One of the people said that's possible that she just opened it enough for her to shimmy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make sense to me. That she just opened it enough for her to shimmy into the tank. I guess it's an 18-inch
I almost feel like there'd be
opening.
marks on her body from that.
Yeah.
18-inch opening.
Yeah, there's an 18-inch opening for her to get drop into the tank.
That's not very big.
No, that's not. But the argument against murder is that there weren't any marks on her body.
Right, there was no sign of trauma
There was no sign of trauma on her body. And
you think there'd be like if I found myself trapped in a tank,
well, that's what they
find
said.
yourself clawing
that's what they said
the
too.
side
Is
of the
that
tank.
she had no damage to her fingernails or anything like that. And you would think that she would have been scratching or trying to get out.
Oh, that's horrifying.
It is
I have
horrifying.
Like claustrophobia, and I can't even imagine. This only says that she initially shared a room on the 5th floor, and that they moved her to a room of her own. They don't say where the room of her own was located. We need to talk about also some of the strange coincidences. Yeah. Movie plots, and outbreaks of tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Okay, so murder. So one thing that they talked about in Blurry Photos is that if if indeed that door was locked and alarmed and whoever it was used the fire escape, if they didn't kill her up on the roof, they would have had to lug her body all the way up there with the fire escape. That's commitment. I don't know who's going to do that, although she was very petite.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I've never killed anybody, but I can't imagine, you know, when you do, you probably panic, so you aren't thinking clearly, so you might be able to just hoist them in a panic onto your shoulders and then carry them to wherever you need to carry them.
But then what would what is the form of, or the method of murder? It's not strangulation. I mean, they literally would have just shoved her in a tank and closed the lid. Yeah. That's how they would have murdered her.
No idea.
That's such a strange, if you're going to murder somebody, some random stranger, I don't know.
Yeah, it just,
doesn't make a lot of
murder
sense.
thing does not make sense. I just don't. You know, and then there's the paranormal.
It was aliens.
There's the paranormal one. And Joe, this one's for you, Joe.
Ooh.
They talk about the Illuminati. They talk about
really?
that it was possibly an Illuminati murder.
Why?
And I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know. And that because the police were involved with the Illuminati in it, that's why the video seems to be very strangely edited. Like it's running at a different speed than it should.
Yeah, it's like sped up, isn't it?
And yeah, it's sped up, and there is a minute of missing footage, which is very strange.
So somebody must have noticed that in the time.
Yeah, somebody noticed that in the time thing, and they wondered if the police would have removed a video clip of somebody else being in the elevator, but it doesn't make sense why they wouldn't have cut it off, you know, before.
Why would the police do that?
I don't know.
Are they part of the Illuminati?
They might. Well, it said that they worked with the Illuminati.
But why her?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? It's just so, that seems so far-fetched to me, because she's
does.
just some random
I'm
Canadian student or whatever.
And going along with the paranormal stuff, you know, people talk about her being possessed. And the hotel has a really sketchy history where Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker,
he stayed
there.
There have been suicides.
There's been lots of suicides there. There have been other serial killers that stayed there.
Yep. Famous gangsters, I think.
Famous gangsters. Yeah. The Black Dahlia stayed there shortly before she was killed.
So it definitely has a weird enough history that it could potentially have some kind of paranormal activity. We don't know. Has that been reported? Is the Cecil Hotel?
I haven't heard any reported.
Either.
You know, I think a lot of people, the paranormal stuff comes from her weird gesture she's doing.
Yeah, and the fact that the elevator doors never close, and it's just a weird set of circumstances.
You know, and as a side note, some people theorize there's something called the Korean elevator game, which is very bizarre.
Let's talk about that.
It's basically, I don't want to go through the steps.
We don't have to.
But it's basically a person goes into
It's just a lot of press this button, don't get off.
Yeah, press this button, go to this floor, don't get off. Press this button, go to this floor, don't get off.
If a woman gets in, don't talk to her.
Yeah, and at some point, a woman is supposed to get in and try to engage you in conversation. Mm-hmm. And you're supposed to just ignore her. At some point, you finally get to the 10th floor, where when you step out of the elevator, she starts pleading with you or screeching at you. And when you get off on the 10th floor, you're apparently in another dimension where you are the only person there. But there's a specific set of buttons that you press to do this.
You're
and
skipping around, going
some
up
people
and down
think
and
that that's what she was doing. But I don't know.
That
it didn't look like
really
she
make a whole lot of sense.
No, because
she pressed
a bunch of buttons.
She's not playing the game right.
No,
that's the if that's the case.
But like I said, what's up with these weird satanic games? The Blue Whale elevator game. I don't understand.
The pencil game.
I don't understand.
Which we're still not sure what that is.
Buy a PlayStation 4. Just play video games.
Right? Skyrim, guys.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
So there's just, there's even there's really weird theories that somebody said that she created another account, and the only thing that she posted on this account was a link.
What kind of account?
I don't remember if it was Tumblr or whatever, but it was some account like that, and the only thing she posted on there was a link to an article about the Army working on when you make yourself invisible.
Oh, cloaking.
Yes.
Cloaking devices?
Yes, the Army working on cloaking devices. And some people think that
They were testing it
that
out
they
on
were
her?
testing it out on her, that the person that she was talking to was wearing a cloaking device.
That is so out there.
Yes, that is way out there.
I like it.
And there's another theory saying that she'd never even really existed.
Oh my goodness.
That it was like a weird government kind of thing.
I think her family would beg to differ.
It was something to do with a tuberculosis outbreak that was going on at the time.
Right.
And a lot of people think that there's something weird about that there was a tuberculosis outbreak going on at the time, because the test for the tuberculosis, it is very weird. The test for that strain of tuberculosis was called the Lam Elisa test.
Right.
And her name was Elisa Lam.
It's bizarre.
It's
Spelled
bizarre.
exactly the same, just in reverse.
I think it's just one of those weird coincidences that happen.
It's a very strange coincidence.
But there's some people that think that she never really existed, and this was just some weird government thing to do with a tuberculosis test, false flag, or whatever. I don't know.
It's so out there.
It is very out there.
I feel like aliens is a more plausible.
Usually I can, you know, I'm the guy that believes in the Mandela effect and weird stuff like that. But in this case, no,
simulation.
There was no predator cloaker device there and all that stuff. But a lot of people do think that there's a paranormal reason for what happened to her.
I think it's kind of fun to think about that.
It is fun to think about that, but
I don't know that I really see any evidence that points to that, though.
No, I don't either.
I see someone acting strange and kind of erratic, and maybe who might be hallucinating.
Yes.
And someone who's known to be on medication for bipolar disorder and depression, and was alone, kind of left to her own devices, and had already been asked to move rooms because of strange behavior. Clearly, there was something going on with her, and I think the most logical explanation is that she found her way up there.
I think so too, but a lot of that,
strange,
there's so much unanswered stuff, like the flecks or whatever that were on her.
And weren't they in her stomach too?
No, they found like a traces of a red fluid in her stomach.
Oh, that's what it was, a red fluid. But they
couldn't
couldn't
identify or figure out what it was. There were the flecks on her that they think came from the roof, but then also if she was on the roof enough to get her clothing full of the flecks, why did the search dogs not pick up a trace of her on the roof?
Yeah. Or in her room.
I
think that's the strangest thing at all. Your skin cells would be everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So, part of me kind of leans a little bit towards the murder thing, because there's a lot of things that don't make sense with this. I can't figure out how she closed that lid on that tank.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
And I think that I do think there'd have to be some kind of trauma. Scrapes on her side or her stomach if she shimmied in, on her back or her butt.
If she opened the latch just enough where she could shimmy in. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Her clothes would have been ripped or something. There would be something,
But then why is there no trace of trauma on her either? Yeah, so
I don't know.
Her being killed doesn't make sense. Her doing this on her own,
unless someone pushed her in there and closed the lid. That's the only thing I can think of. That, hey, let's go swimming in here. You go first.
Well, yeah. Somebody said, one of the theories was that a hotel employee was fooling around with her, and she had this mental break, and he didn't want to get in trouble, so he figured the easiest way was to play along with it and be like, take her to the roof and be like, oh, they're coming. You need to hide. Get in here.
Something,
and then close the lid, and that's it. So I don't know.
Yeah, that is. It does almost seem more plausible that someone else would have had to have been involved than her somehow getting up there by herself.
Yeah.
Either through the fire escape or through a door that supposedly was locked and alarmed, but not always.
Yeah, like you said, it's the perfect storm if the doors just happen to be unlocked that day to the roof, and she manages to figure out how to get up.
I mean, sometimes that's how these things do happen. It's a series of unbelievable coincidences or events that bring you, someone to their demise, but it can be hard to kind of wrap your head around logically.
Yeah, it can be. And there's just so much. The elevator door is not closing.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. One of the things I read about, and I've seen the movie Dark Water. Have you seen the movie Dark Water? And that's a relatively old movie. It's probably got to be 10 plus years old. Yeah. Jennifer Connelly. It's a very dark, depressing movie.
It is a very dark, depressing movie.
Oh my gosh. But she's trying to make a life for her and her daughter, and I think she's clearly having a custody battle with her ex-husband. She's depressed. They move into this old, kind of rundown building, and she keeps having these nightmares about, I think, finding her daughter like drowning in the bathtub, or I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. But didn't it come down to that someone had been, a little girl
in the water tank,
had been murdered by her mother, drowned in the water tank up on the roof of the building? Yeah. So it's kind of a strange. That's a very specific thing. I don't remember any other movie about that.
Plus somebody in the movie was named Cecilia, which I thought was weird because it was the Hotel
right?
Cecil.
The daughter's name was Cecilia.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of weird coincidences.
Yeah. That and the tuberculosis thing.
Yeah, really the Lam Elisa test.
I mean, come on.
I think it's just one of those.
That is not. That's
just one of those synchronicity things that just happens where it's just weird.
Because that is not a Lam is not a common last name in my world, and Elisa is not a common first name either. It's a pretty name, actually. Lisa is a very common name.
Not Elisa.
Elisa, no.
No, so it's just very bizarre.
So weird.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what I think.
I heard that they're making a movie about this.
I know. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I feel awful for the family.
Yeah. Countless movies are made about tragedies, though, that we all end up watching.
But this poor family has no
closure.
No closure, no idea what happened.
There's still such a... What else was in the autopsy that you remember? The autopsy report. Do you remember any other details?
Nothing really. It was just weird. I can bring it up here. Hang on, I can edit this out. Yeah, the autopsy report is just kind of weird.
When I was listening to Blurry Photos, they actually said some of the details were kind of gruesome, and I was like, what details?
Well, there were gruesome ones, but I think they talked about it on some other podcast I listened to where there's something called, I can't think of what it's called, gloving or sloughing.
Oh, her skin was
where the skin was so...
It had been sitting in liquid for so long.
Yeah, where you can like peel it off like a glove. Ugh. Yeah, I think that's what they were talking about.
I can see how that would happen. So she was in the tank for like 3 weeks, right?
Yes. Yeah, one of the weird things people have pointed out from the autopsy. I have the autopsy right here. One thing is people pointed out is weird that on June 18th of that year, the coroners checked the could not be determined cause of death.
Really?
Yep. And then
when was this? Say that again.
June 18th.
June 18th.
They checked it could not be determined, and on the same day they crossed that out, wrote error, and then put it as accident, which is weird.
That is strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is very strange. A lot of people have pointed out that's strange, and one thing that people pointed out is that on her autopsy report, it is mentioned that she is found with blood in her rectum or blood in her anus or something like that, where people say that
she was raped.
Well, they said rape kits came back negative.
Oh.
But people brought up the fact that there was blood there, but then other people said if you're submerged or dead for that long, floating face up, that it could pool there.
Oh, okay.
So
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like your drain, I guess, on your body.
Yeah.
Everything's going to kind of migrate that way.
But yeah, on the autopsy right here, they have her clothing, and everything seems normal, except it gets to black shorts, men's size medium, which is just weird that she would have that.
Mm-hmm. It is weird.
It is.
There wasn't some pantsless dude wandering around.
No, not that I know of.
There.
And there have been conflicting reports where her clothes were found. Some, the autopsy says they were found in the tank, but some people said that they heard that they weren't around anywhere. That's what some people said, that there was no traces of her clothes. I don't know. I mean, I assume they were found in the tank.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of discrepancies about that. And the clothes that she was found in the tank were the ones she was wearing in the elevator video. But there's also, I don't remember where, I think it was on one of the podcasts I listened to, where they said there was basically a day where she couldn't be accounted for.
Before this?
Like when it happened,
elevator?
that there was I think before the elevator video, there was a day where she couldn't be accounted for. So they don't know what happened to her that day.
She could have been with somebody.
She could have been with somebody.
Yeah.
You know, but if she was with somebody, would they have murdered her? Or could she have been with somebody and they didn't want to get involved, so they didn't come forward that they were with her?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that she did have a mental break and then did go into the tank on her own and accidentally die, and the guy
just never came forward.
Doesn't want to get involved because,
right.
you know.
I mean, I read that she like went to the zoo and did a bunch of sightseeing stuff.
She went to the
bookstore. So maybe she just went somewhere that they couldn't.
Everybody that saw her that day said they saw her alone, that she wasn't with anybody else. And everybody said she seemed happy and lively and talked about where she was going on her trip and stuff and didn't seem depressed or suicidal
in any way. I'd really like to know what her strange behavior was that prompted her roommates to ask for her to be moved.
I don't know. It's just a weird case all around.
It really is. There's so many unanswered questions and so many possible theories about how she got up there. I really do. I was leaning towards just a mental break and a weird series of events that led her up there, but I do actually feel like someone else being involved is so much more plausible and logical.
Yeah.
Especially when she appears to be talking to someone in the video that's out of, you know, like if you're standing in the elevator looking out, they're off to the right.
Yeah, and I don't know. The video does seem to be edited, and I don't know. Like you and I have talked, there's the point in the video where the door shuts. It looks like it's edited. Like there's a jump, like there's a quick jump cut there. Like something was edited.
Totally.
So why would there be a minute of missing footage?
Yeah, I don't know. That's probably where it is, I'm guessing.
I don't know. But somebody,
I don't see any other spots on the video that look like they were edited.
Somebody said that with the time code on there that there's a minute that it changes. That there's a minute where something was taken out. And they think that's why the video was slowed down or sped up, was to account for that time change.
So it was the police that released this video or the hotel?
LAPD. The LAPD released the video.
And there's no other cameras in the hotel?
None that caught anything else. I saw a report on some site I went on that said that there was a video of her coming into the hotel with two men.
I think
But I kind of looked for that a little bit and I couldn't find anything.
I feel like I might, now that you say that, I feel like I might have seen that actually.
Yeah. I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know.
When? Was it the same? Not the same day.
It was right around the same time.
But everybody said they saw her alone that day.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just the days leading up to it.
So I don't know. I don't understand why the video seems to be edited. I don't.
Yeah, what would be the point of that?
I don't know.
Unless you were trying to hide something.
The Illuminati, I'm telling you.
I'm picturing some guy in a robe.
That's more like Freemasons.
Like a candle.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, maybe.
So I came tonight, convinced that it was just a tragic mental break, and she went in there to hide and couldn't get out. But there's just a lot of things that don't.
It just don't make sense.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, I feel like you'd have to have someone helping you.
Yeah.
And it would make a lot of sense if it were someone who worked at the hotel who had a key.
And knew where the camera was and knew how to stay off the camera range.
Yeah.
But she seemed friendly with this person, especially if she had his shorts.
Right. And she seemed like she was playing a game.
Yeah.
She didn't look scared to me.
No, that's what I can't figure out. If she did go to the roof to hide, she probably had to be frightened, but she didn't seem frightened. And I don't think she would playfully.
Like, why would you decide to go to the roof to hide?
I don't know.
That's a strange. I wouldn't feel safe up on the roof. I mean, if somebody finds you up there, where are you going to go now?
Yeah, and why would you go into a water tank that's half to 3/4 full? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
I'm excited to hear what our fellow strangers think
get
of
back
this
to
video.
us. Please let us know what you think.
Yeah, what are your theories? What have you read or heard about this that we forgot to mention?
Leave a message on our Facebook. You can tweet us at Strange Session.
I should probably visit our Twitter account.
I should probably write something on our Twitter because I haven't.
We have a Gmail account that I don't think anyone's used.
Or if you have an idea of what happened, what seems to be lately the most popular way, just message me or stop me somewhere and tell me, because that seems to be the most popular way to give me feedback is to just let me know. I don't know what I think. I honestly don't. was positive. I knew that
I feel like we have a lot of information, but that at the same time, there's so many missing pieces that
people are still fascinated by this. You see so
totally.
many websites about this,
Yeah. The video is really captivating. I mean, if that video didn't exist, nobody would really be talking.
Yeah,
The
video
it would have made
basically
the news because of the water situation, but the video is what pushed this over the edge.
Yeah, the video basically is what made this
viral.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking about it today.
So I'm against my better judgment. I'm going to say she didn't do it alone.
Murder.
I don't know if I say murder,
Do you know what movie I just referenced there?
No.
Murder.
No.
It's the only word said in the whole entire movie.
No.
Soft for digging.
I've never seen it.
What?
No, I've never seen it.
I swear you're the only other person I know who saw that movie.
Soft for digging?
Yeah.
Oh, I did see that.
I'm like, Kurt, don't leave me hanging.
I did see that. That's the one with the little girl where the guy kills the cat at the end.
Isn't it an old man living in the woods? And the only word said through the whole movie is murder.
Oh, I forgot about that. That was a messed up movie.
It was a really weird movie.
Yeah.
Side note, but I digress.
But yeah, let us know what your opinion is.
What are your theories?
I think somebody else was involved.
Maybe it was Bigfoot. Maybe it was aliens.
Reptilians. Anything.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. I think somebody was with her. I don't know if they murdered her, but I think somebody was with her and knows what happened.
Yeah.
But maybe doesn't want to come forward.
Could be.
But either way, a really
sad
story of a sweet
young
girl
person, 21 years old.
You know, and Blurry Photos brought this up too, that like if I mysteriously die after I leave here tonight, that everything of mine is going to be gone through with a fine-tooth comb. My Facebook, my old live journal, all that stuff is going to be gone through. And
what kind of weird puzzle pieces can they put together from that stuff?
And the thing I originally thought about her video, about the elevator video, is I think if my life was recorded all day, I do some really dumb stuff that people would think I was possessed too.
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
I mean,
we're just getting a really small snapshot of.
There was a report that there's a mirror right outside that elevator somewhere.
Oh, really?
And people thought maybe she was just doing that in the mirror.
Looking at herself in the mirror.
Which is something dumb that I would do.
Right.
On some video, and then they'd analyze that.
Yeah, probably.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose we're only shown a very small snippet of what happened in those moments, and trying to draw a conclusion from that is really difficult to do. But you find yourself kind of being persuaded by what you're seeing because you're not getting the whole story.
No, I don't want my last known image to be analyzed by hundreds of people.
No, me either.
No. When I get money out of the ATM, half the time I'm singing along in my car to whatever song is on, just so if that is my last known image, it's at least happy.
Yeah.
I look happy.
And you're listening to some good music, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully.
A
lot of country music lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm okay with country music.
All right.
On that note.
Nice pun. But yeah, well, thanks for tuning in to episode 4.
Sorry we didn't come up with any answers, but actually...
I feel like we kind of narrowed it down.
I feel like I came here with an answer in my head, and now I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we're ever going to know. That's the sad part.
I don't think anybody will ever know.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think.
Yeah, stop by Facebook.
Stop on Facebook, Twitter.
YouTube, of course. This is where you're listening to us at the time.
Yes, feel free to leave a comment.
We're working on the RSS feed, not actively, unfortunately, but
not very actively. Yeah, we want to get this up on.
Yeah, we're gonna get.
The way I look at it right now is us, like this stuff that we're talking about is stuff that if you're a listener to Thinking Sideways or Blurry Photos, this is all old news to you.
Probably.
But I kind of feel like this is introducing our friends to these topics because they're pretty much the only ones listening to us right now. Our friends, pretty much.
It's always exciting, like with Paranormal Palaver, it's really exciting when a stranger
comments on something.
Yeah, you're like,
I don't know how I'm going to handle that on here. I might get a little freaked out when a stranger comments on this.
We got a comment on YouTube for one of our episodes from somebody from Scotland. So that was kind of crazy to get comments like that.
If there are any cute Scottish girls listening to this, hit me up.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'll even try haggis. Is that Scottish?
You'll try what?
Haggis?
What's that?
Haggis is like some really... I don't know. It's like stomach. Isn't it
Oh,
haggis?
is it like cow stomach?
It's like cow
or
stomach
something?
or something like that. I think
Haggis.
that's Scottish.
Maybe.
If you're a cute Scottish girl, I'll try that. Let me
Text
know.
Kurt. Oh, wait, don't text him. Email Kurt at...
She can text me or email me at thestrangesessions@gmail.com.
Or like us on Facebook.
Or like
and
us on
leave a
Facebook, comment on Facebook, comment on YouTube, stop me at work, tell me you listen to the episode.
Yeah, we're looking for feedback, more feedback.
Yes, and ask us questions. If there are any questions you would like us to answer on the air.
Or a topic you want us to cover.
Topic you want us to cover. We actually got a couple requests for topics.
Yeah, I think our next episode is going to be about the Mothman. Who
yeah.
requested that?
Both Barry
and BDZ.
and Brittany Zahn.
Brittany Zahn, yeah.
They both brought up that there's been recent sightings in Chicago.
That's so cool. Yeah, we're definitely going to
So
talk
we think
about
the next episode is going to be about Mothman.
Episode 5.
Episode 5. Wow.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Holy cow.
All right.
So until next time.
Until next time, guys.
Stay strange.